Hey guys, Brent Chapman here. It's been a crazy season so far out here on the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour, and number 7 was one of those for sure. When they said that we were headed to Grand Lake in Oklahoma, I couldn't have been more happy for that decision. Grand Lake's a lake I grew up fishing. I love fishing it. Early June, that was going to be an awesome time to be there. And guess what? Mother Nature threw us a curveball. The previous event at Table Rock Lake, they were calling for heavy rains, and they didn't really transpire in the event, but they did right after the event. We were scheduled to go to Grand Lake, and they had unprecedented flooding in Oklahoma, Kansas, all that, where all that water heads right into Grand Lake. And Major League Fishing, they finally had to make the decision. They knew that Grand Lake wasn't going to happen. The lake was, I think, at record heights. It was dangerous out there. There's so much floating debris. They had to make a decision. The best decision that they could have with the conditions we had, with the logistics, they decided to take us right back to Table Rock Lake for event number 7. I gotta say, if we weren't going to Grand, to go back to Table Rock Lake, couldn't have been happier with that, because Table Rock's been a good one to me, and I was excited for that one. It's kind of unheard of. I can't say I've ever done it in my career, but here we were headed back to Table Rock Lake again for Bass Pro Tour event number 7. And I gotta say, I've never fished the same body of water in the same year for a professional event. So it's kind of unique to us, but at the same time, I knew going there 2 or 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, that it was that time of year where things were changing super fast, and the conditions were going to be dramatically different. Prepared for it in the sense that I knew what was happening the week or two before, that there was pretty much a post-spawn deal. There was a few fish spawning that I felt like number 7 was going to be truly a post-spawn event, and that's how I approached it. I figured I might be able to catch some fish cranking, drop shotting. Top water is a good time of year when the fish school, so I approached practice in that sense. Practice at that event, I kind of took a different approach. This one, they changed it up some. They'd found out from the previous event with all the delays that they got just huge numbers, and that people really tuned in when we fished late into the evening the day with all the weather delays. And so that was their curveball for us, was instead of starting early in the morning, which a guy would typically like to have, especially in a post-spawn event, early June, that we were going to start at noon and fish till 8 p.m. So knowing that, I knew that probably the early morning schooling fish, topwater deal, probably wouldn't come into play except for later in the night. But the other part was we were fishing on the weekend, and that meant for the guys that opted to make a long run, it was going to be a long, rough boat ride because it's summer, it's a Saturday. Lake was going to be crowded. A lot of other tournaments had been rescheduled or changed to that lake as well. So I opted to stay down close, to fish down towards the dam by Long Creek. Had practiced that way. So the first day of practice, I go out and put together a decent little pattern. I would have liked to have caught some more fish, finesse fishing, drop shotting, Ned rigging, all that. I did catch some fish on top water, caught some fish on a jerk bait, and still caught some on a wacky worm, and I think even a couple flipping. I felt like I had enough bites that day kind of dialed in that I could build off of that. So the other thing I wanted to do was, deep down inside, my gut was telling me I needed to run way up the river and try it. You know what? Got nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's practice. Might as well run up there. So I run up the James River, get up there. I knew it was going to be a pretty specific deal, but I got up there and caught them cranking and flipping. Water was off colored, and it was really a pretty strong bite. With that being said, I knew in that event I was fishing Group B, so we were going to be fishing the day after. The conditions were still changing, so didn't know quite how the deal would play out, but I knew it would be dramatically different than it was in the previous round.
Guys, have fun today.
Day one, I got to see what Group A got to do, and they caught the fire out of fish, so I knew it was going to take a lot of weight to do well. I had made up my mind I was going to stay close. I didn't want to have to run way up there and make that long boat ride. I knew it was a gamble because it was very specific. I decided to kind of play it safe and fish close, and it started out really well for me. You know, fishing at noon or 12:30 to start the day on a Saturday. It was pretty crowded, but got out there and figured out that they were biting a jerkbait right off the bat. Good.
Something about that jerkbait, you know. Look at the ones with them. Holy cow, there's a bunch of fish with them. On the board. Yes, on the board. Pretty fish.
1 pound, 14 ounces.
114. Surprisingly, the quality has been surprisingly better. I don't know if it's because of where I've been fishing. Oh, look at that. Look at the fish with him. I'll split the difference with you.
That one's both been off. We're right in the middle now.
No, largemouth.
1 pound, 5 ounces.
1.5.
Brent, that gives you 6 pounds, 8 ounces. You are 3 pounds, 14 ounces off the lead to help out Jones Jr. He has 7 fish for 10 pounds, 6 ounces.
I think I was in the top 5 for quite a while, and I think that first round I was holding my own, catching fish, and then we had a break, and it got cloudy, and when you thought the fishing would get better, it got tough, and I went, I think I went almost that whole second period without even getting a bite, and I went from being in the top 5 to falling all the way to like 35th place in the standings, and it was just really disheartening, frustrating. But that's what makes Major League Fishing exciting too, is because of those emotions. Right at the start of the third period, I ran back to a point where I'd caught them the first round, and I look out there, and the sight we all love to see, they were schooling on the surface. And I picked up a little swim bait and proceeded to catch them every cast for like 10 or 15 minutes. I think I caught about a dozen fish and went from 35th place right back up into the top 15 or top 10. And I thought with that momentum, an hour to go, I was going to be right back up there where I needed to be. And as quickly as that deal started, it faded out. And I think I ended the day right around the cut line. Maybe I was a pound or so out of the cut. But
Dug myself out of my hole. Holy. Man, I need them to do that again. That was pretty freaking cool.
Considering the roller coaster of a day it was, I was perfectly content with being right there on the cut line, and I thought, you know, having another day, if I could capitalize on that same deal, we'd be right where we need to be. Day 2, elimination day, and you know, having a day off in between, it gives you a chance to really go through the thought process and put together a game plan, but it also gives you a chance to at least watch the weights of what the other competitors are doing, and it just floored me, and it's just a testament of how good Table Rock is and how good these anglers are. The catches were crazy. I mean, it was record catches, 100+ pounds, numerous guys catching 100+ pounds in 2 days. And so I knew that second day I was going to have to just keep it going and have to have some awesome catches. And I'm still kind of scratching my head out because the second day we started the day, it was cloudy, windy, seemed like perfect conditions for the fish to be biting a jerkbait. Got out there and man, it was a lot different fishing. It was a lot slower for me. You know, I managed to catch a few on a jerkbait, a few this, that. Never did find the schooling fish like I did the day before, and it was really a battle for me. We had a big rain delay, and it was just really a tough day for me, and you know, one of those things that I'd love to have had it done to do over again. But with that being said, like I said, there were record catches, and I gotta say that score tracker, I don't care who you are, when you got that score tracker in the back of your mind and knowing the average and the momentum that you got to do to be a player in it, it's tough. When you got guys 100+ pounds, that's just like 100+ points, and you start to do the math. Guys were catching a scoreable bass on average about every 7 minutes. If you don't think that's a tough thing to do, regardless of where you're at, go try it sometime, because it really puts the pressure on you. And you know, it's one of those things, as we progress in this season, I'm loving it. I've loved Major League Fishing from the start, but as we do this more and more, I'm just trying to figure out how to play the game. I think that's what all of us as a whole. Some guys have been great this year out of the start. I've obviously had some great events in the past doing the cup events, but it's changed now with the practice. I love the no practice and going just straight into competition, but with practice, it's changed the game a little bit. We're figuring it out as we go on. Now, just can't wait for that final regular event of the year. Event number 8, we're headed to up to Wisconsin, Lake Winnebago. It's a new lake for, as far as I know, almost all of us, so it's going to be a great one to see, and can't wait to see how it plays out. So there it is, Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event number 7. It was completely different than number 6. Huge catches, record numbers, awesome event. I'm really looking forward to going back to Table Rock again. Always one of my favorites. So guys, until next time, be sure to tune in to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Be sure to click on the bell so you're notified when we have a new update. Until then, keep fishing, keep learning, and we'll see you out on the water.